Chicago Police Department. Are you the man in charge?
That's right.
Well, who am I speaking to?
John Q.
I assume since all the doors are locked, this is a hostage situation. Is that correct?
Okay. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I know you do things your own way.
Blood pressure is dropping fast. He's going into cardiac arrest.
But I don't understand.
Mike's heart is useless. He's going to need a transplant or he's going to die.
What make Mike so sick?
Transplant surgery is very expensive.
We got insurance.
There are no provisions in your policy for a procedure of this magnitude.
All right, you want money? I'll get you your money. We've recently switched carriers.
We only give assistance to patients without coverage. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Have you tried Medicaid?
No, you don't qualify.
My son is dying. I'm broke. If I don't qualify, who the hell does?
I've done everything I can do. I'm sorry.
Please.
They are releasing him. Now you need to do something.
I'll take care of it.
Hear me? Do something.
The hospital's under new management now. Everybody does exactly what I say. Nobody will get hurt. Or hurt. I want my kid's name on the donors list.
This is gonna end up bad for you, John.
Police will do whatever is necessary to preserve the lives of these hostages.
They're telling me I gotta take my son home and watch him die.
If you could speak to John Q right now, what would you say to him? I'm there with you and you take care. 5:15, when something happens for me.
Are you praying for her, baby?
Yes, I'm praying, sweetheart.
He's a good kid.
You'd like him.
I am not gonna bury my son.
I got a shot at this guy and I'm gonna take it.
My son is gonna bury me.
Take the shot.
How's it gonna end, John?
I don't know.
Welcome to Movie Umpers. My name is Bob Sham.
I am Angela.
Looking at myself. Yeah, this is Movie Umpers. The sounds you hear may be dogs. It's a melancholy episode because we're bidding farewell today to January's theme this month of Portraits of the Artists, in which we discussed two black leading men, significant black leading men from both ends of the film history. And we've already wrapped up the Paul Robeson movies. We discussed 5 of those. And we discussed at least double the amount of Denzel. Mr. Denzel. It's Denzel or it's Denzel?
I was calling you Denzel. Is that correct?
Actually, it's Denzel.
Oh, no, is it really?
Yeah, but...
So was your dad Denzel?
Well, he was Denzel. And... yeah. And I'm Denzel Jr. So my mother started calling me Denzel just so, she'd say Denzel and we both would show up.
We're ending this one. This week's final theme going out is The Artists of the People. With Paul Robeson in the Proud Valley, he was a man of the workers. He helped them soothe their struggle, helped them find dignity. Old John Q in this movie, directed by Nick Cassavetes. Yes, that is John Cassavetes' son. Mm-hmm. We will be talking about a John Cassavetes movie very soon, but this one directed by his kid. Nick Cassavetes' probably biggest movie is The Notebook. Mm-hmm. And this is written by James Kearns. Now, James Kearns, this is his one major feature film. He wrote for some of your grandma's favorite shows. Highway to Heaven.
Okay.
Jake and the Fat Man.
Yep.
Mr. Belvedere.
Hi, Mr. Belvedere.
Hello, Danny.
Is Wesley here?
Yes, come on in. Everyone, you remember Wesley's friend, Danny?
Oh, hi, Danny. Hi, Mrs. Owens, Mr. Owens.
Hiya, champ. How's it going?
Well, I got AIDS, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, so this is his one credit for major feature theatrical release, 2002's John Q. John Q, I mean, the character's name is John...
Quincy Archibald.
Yes. But, that term John Q. Public, right? Have you ever heard that term?
Absolutely.
He's an everyman. Denzel is the ultimate everyman in this movie. It also stars, as well as Mr. Denzel, Kimberly Elise as his wife, who I thought did a really good job.
She did a great job.
The emotions of the family dynamic were probably the strongest part of this movie.
Yes.
Also starring James Woods and Anne Heche, the late Anne Heche, who plays someone that you really hate in this movie. And Robert Duvall. Also Ray Liotta, the late great Ray Liotta, plays the corrupt, fame-obsessed police chief.
Which he does so well.
Yeah, we love Ray Liotta, no matter what. And yeah, John Q. This movie did make money. I will say that.
I was just thinking about how we cheered when we saw Ray Liotta's name come up at the beginning of the movie.
He's one of our favorite character actors.
He really
we
is.
just love the guy. And it was so sad when he passed away. It was sad as fuck when Anne Heche passed away. She was in a horrible
that was a tragedy.
car accident. It was just something that it seemed like the Hollywood world was not prepared for. Anne Heche is suddenly gone and in such a brutal way. And Ray Liotta unfortunately passed away from cancer. But yeah, some late greats up in this piece. And James Woods. Actually, James Woods gets his balls busted a lot because he's like one of the conservative celebrities. But I've always maintained that, like, not necessarily that I maybe have some personal love for James Woods. I don't think he's a bad actor. But I also find that conservative celebrities are more honest than these centered liberal celebrities that when they become inconvenient will easily go more in towards the James Woods camp. So I don't really separate the James Woods types from I don't separate James Woods much from the Alyssa Milanos, honestly. But there are some celebrities that do stand out. Susan Sarandon, Danny DeVito, the dude who played the Hulk. Why can't I remember his name? He was in Poor Things. Those guys.
Mark Ruffalo.
You know who's, as the kids say, based as fuck?
I don't even know what that means.
It means you're more of a lefty term, but I guess conservatives have co-opted too. It just means that you're settled down into your political beliefs on the left. John Cusack. When I was really young, I used to just dislike him for no reason.
Yeah, it was a joke when we started dating because I was in love with him.
But the dude is like the fucking shit. Like, no doubt, in terms of like the politics for the people kind of angle. And this movie has it's propaganda for the people.
It is.
You don't see the people get a lot of propaganda. I maybe wish this movie was executed a lot better. There are deep flaws. But there is a relatability because this movie's about the corrupt medical industry.
Yeah, in someone else's hands, this wouldn't have been a happy ending because in reality, this wouldn't have been a happy ending. But we got our fairy tale happy ending in this movie.
That's one big flaw, is that it was too happy at the end.
Yeah.
It worked out too well.
Yeah.
But the drama does kind of work as much as it seems. Everything feels a little forced.
There are moments, and you hit it on the head when you said it earlier, the family moments when the scenes between the mother and the son.
When they're
the
in
father
the
and the son,
together.
the two women together. Oh my God.
Very sweet.
When they're in the truck playing games at the beginning.
Dashboard. What? What'd you say? What'd you say?
I said, dashboard. Now. What?
Hello. Come get this woman, please.
What is no good?
Come on.
Even when he and she are fighting, and then they make up because they love each other. Like, sometimes you have to fucking fight when you're in love.
Also, this movie features two members of the Pussy Posse. Now, the Pussy Posse, they call themselves the Wolf Pack. But back in the late 90s, as Leonardo DiCaprio was coming up, and they were off making hijinks, the number two in the Pussy Posse is Tobey Maguire. They're old homies.
Okay.
And then you got Lucas Haas, who was the kid in Rambling Rose. You remember that movie? Well, we got two Pussy Posse alumni in here with Kevin Connolly. He plays that ER nurse that actually argues on behalf against the corrupt medical system.
He had a couple good little moments.
And Ethan Suplee, who as the guard, Max Conlon. You probably know Ethan Suplee more from the guy in Mallrats who's staring at the 3D picture trying to see the boat. But they are two members of the Pussy Posse. I've been fascinated by the Pussy Posse lately and their extended members, including Sarah Gilbert, who is also kind of like a stand-in member of the Pussy Posse at times.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just like, let's get us a lesbian that'll give us some more cred. Anyway, I mean, we were all young and ridiculous, but a lot of those guys are probably trapped in that era. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I thought Kevin Connolly did a nice job here. And Ethan Suplee, he's a bit character actor.
Serviceable. He did what he was there to do.
Yeah, you're not going to complain about his
not
presence.
a bit. He is like a fucking bodybuilder now.
So, shit's struggling out there.
Yep.
In the Archibald house. He's getting his hours cut. Jobs are moving overseas. He can't get no work. We hear George W. Bush talking about how the economy's shit. We're marching to war. During this time in 2002, a lot of the Denzel movies are kind of like these Iraq invasion era wars. Like, you notice Man on Fire, it's full of torture.
Yeah.
So you could interpret that as maybe softening some of the blows of what would be revealed not too long after. But it does seem obvious when you really pay attention. But shit's rough, and they got this cute little kid, and he has a bad heart attack or something. Like, they discover that his heart is like
enlarged,
yeah.
And so it's working too hard.
And so he goes to the hospital, and they're saying like, "Oh well, this movie does really accurately represent the bullshit bureaucratic runaround, the things that people who argue against universal health care." They claim that the things that we actually do all the time with these insurance companies. Like when I had to have a surgery years ago, I had to go to 3 different fucking buildings just to sign this off, and not even including the building I went to actually have the surgery.
And what you had was a pretty routine surgery. We were on payment plan for years paying for that surgery until we could finally just pay the end of it off. Like, it's insane the amount of money.
And they still sent the bill to the address that I didn't live at for a decade, I think, initially.
I know.
Which is so dumb.
So dumb.
Like, you have to write down your address every time you fart in a fucking hospital, and yet they still somehow don't send it to the address that you literally went to 4 different buildings to write your address down.
Someone that I work with had to have her appendix out recently, and she has her prescription medication that she brought with her to the hospital, and they wouldn't let her take what she brought. They insisted that she had to take from them, and of course they charged a fucking arm and a leg for every
for a
fucking
couple
pill.
of ibuprofen or some shit.
I mean, probably 50.
I really feel like when you talk to people from other countries, and our medical system is proof inherently of how our whole society is jilted, the power structure towards the right wing of everything. A lot of people who consider themselves centrist, they might call that like they're I'm between the Democrats and the Republicans. But the Overton window, meaning the policies that are allowed to us by the structure of power, go from center to right. And everything over here, they work the hardest to make sure we don't go in this direction. Then they'll win the elections, making promises in this direction. And then when they get here, it's like nothing. I mean, when it comes to the medical industry, there's really just not that much help from either major political party. And it's not even that having a universal single payer tax health system would make your country inherently socialist. But it's just that we veer so hard right that someone can't even get cancer without like draining people's livelihoods in this country.
It's the same thing as prison system in America. Like, there's so much money in it, and there's so many people profiting from our healthcare system being set up the way that it is, from the drug companies to specialists to your HMOs. Everybody's getting all this money.
You got an HMO, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's your answer. I mean, HMOs pay their doctors not to test. That's their way of keeping costs down. All right, let's say Mike did need additional testing, and insurance says they won't cover them. The doctor keeps his mouth shut, and come Christmas, the HMO sends the doctor a fat-ass bonus check.
Is that true?
Possible. Not likely, but possible.
The idea of stopping it, there's just too many people who are going to argue it. They try to make the argument in this movie that it's because the people don't want it. The people don't want more taxes.
You're talking about at the end of the movie is like this ticker of famous faces of the time making a variety of like arguments about it. people showing up, throwing up universal healthcare signs, and then like Hillary Clinton being like, people want access to and it's like, when you talk about universal healthcare, then most establishment Democrats then turn it into an access to insurance issue. They make it sound like, no, I'm going to give everyone access to insurance.
That's not the answer.
And it's like, no, we all get access to insurance. But in this movie, a man has insurance, which has been reduced because his hours have been cut, but he has insurance, and he needs to come up with $75,000 just to make a deductible to pay for his son's open heart surgery.
And he's trying to fill out all these papers and argue all these points, and it keeps being the wrong thing. It's that classic, like, they even do this in the movie, you're in the wrong line.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Where it just feels like you're being jerked around and around and around. And so they say to him, because of everything, the state that it's in, they tell him they're a cash patient. Mm-hmm. And a heart replacement is an elective surgery. You need your heart to live.
Yeah. And
how is that a fucking elective surgery?
And the thing you were referencing, like the Bill Maher clip states, like, he's like, Americans don't want the universal health care because they don't want to pay the taxes for it. I mean, obviously there's an entire systemic structure that needs to be overhauled, especially because we pay more in the military than any country ever has in history. So some of the concept could be that maybe we can move some of these funds around.
Absolutely.
But also, they're going to nickel and dime you anyway. They're just going to find another way. You're still going to be paying high tax rates for any other reason. And the thing that people will claim they don't want to do, they don't want this because of this. Well, the thing that's going to happen is going to happen anyway. And they're actually going to tax you even when they themselves are subsidizing these for-profit medical industries that are privatized. And so it's actually the worst of both worlds. We actually do take our tax monies and it is taken and dumped into this system, but it's a purely for-profit system. So they are setting drug prices anywhere they want. Insurance company, it's their job to figure out how not to pay you when you pay into insurance monthly. And on top of that, the government, because of how they pay for campaigns in these industries to politicians across the board, will subsidize these drug companies, these medical companies that are purely pure profit. So they're not only making money in which they get to set their own costs, although apparently insulin has been capped recently. That is some good news.
That is good news.
But yeah, and on top of all that, they still are taking our money.
Yeah.
We're still so we're talking about this like our tax monies aren't going to them. It already is. Proper national healthcare system could be so much more efficient than the for-profit one we have now. Admittedly, it could take a generation or two to change the culture because it requires a cultural shift. We're one of like 2 countries in the whole world who have our pharmaceuticals advertised to us on commercials, right? No. So there is a culture where people think that they can dictate their own medicine, and we have a culture that will treat your symptoms. And so to shift to a national healthcare system, it's going to be like massive preventative care. And of course, people are going to have a hard time with that. People are going to complain about that. It may take time, but you would have to see it through for it to properly function. I mean, this movie's kind of saying all that. Raises up money, and then but he doesn't have all the money. But the money he pays them, they take it, of course.
And he's giving them thousands of dollars weekly.
Like his community is coming together. Now they do GoFundMe.
He's selling everything that he has.
His truck, everything. And then they're like, well, there's nothing we can do. We can take this money, but we're going to keep him here. And the mother is there, and she calls her husband, and she's like, you need to do something.
Oh, because they say they're going to let him go.
Yeah, they're going
to send him home.
All right, baby, wait a minute. Hold on. No, they're not going to send him home. I gave them money yesterday, baby.
It doesn't matter, John. Listen to me. They are releasing him.
Come on now, baby. I talked to the hospital. They said, I'll take care of it.
John, you always take care of everything.
I will.
But it's never enough, is it? Now you need to do something. Do you hear me? Do something.
If he can't get the surgery, he will just die days, weeks, months. Yep. So she calls up old John Q, is played by Mr. Denzel. She's like, you need to do something. So he shows up in the emergency room with a gun, sticks it in James Woods' face.
The scene where he takes the doctor got to me so bad because he's this man whose son is dying who needs to just get on the list for a donor. Just on the list. That's all he's trying for at this point. They won't put the kid on the list.
Yeah.
Because you have to give a down payment. And he's talking to this rich ass couple, flirting with the woman, talking about the man's got this new ticker. He's in his 50s.
Yeah.
Listen, like, not that 50-year-olds don't deserve hearts, but this is a goddamn 8-year-old. It was just so infuriating. If you've got money, you can get anything.
So he puts a pistol to that guy, and the hostage situation begins. And that's when we get Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall is presented as the good cop.
He's the hostage negotiator.
He's the hostage negotiator. He's got a heart. He doesn't approve of taking hostages, but he seems to understand what he's going through. Ray Liotta is the chief of police. That's all about the cameras and all this shit. And the whole movie is just like really dripping hardcore concentrate melodrama.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing. And at one point they try to assassinate him and all that, and it doesn't, and it falls through.
They get like a video feed that the news taps into, and like they actually end up putting out across nationwide a conversation that he's having with his son on the phone,
which causes Chicago to come around, all these people to cheer his name,
and everyone is like, "Let him go."
Who can't relate to this?
Absolutely.
Being involved in this medical rigmarole. Literally everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
But did you want him to shoot someone? I did. I wanted to see him like execute that fucking physician, like straight up.
I think it speaks to his character, even though it is a little sappy that he didn't even have any bullets in the gun until he decides at the end, it's like the 11th hour, his kid is going to die, and he's had his kid brought to him in the emergency room. They won't let the mom in.
Right.
And he's decided that there's no heart, so he's going to shoot himself. He's going to kill himself so they will use his heart. And James Woods, at this point, they've talked so long and gotten to know each other that James Woods is like, okay, I'm in. And the other doctor is like, you will lose your license. He's like, what are they going to fucking do?
Eddie Griffin is in this movie. He backs up John Q, but he's also not supportive of him losing his... And
he's like, you should not kill yourself.
They let Eddie Griffin wear his own clothes in this movie.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy that like beats his girlfriend.
Yeah, she is actually, at the time, she was Nick Cassavetes' wife.
Oh,
that girl.
Okay.
So yeah, she was wearing like a blonde wig, and she rips it off at some point, and she and like, there's two nurses in the ER. There's the guy, and then there's a woman, and she says it's her first day. She and that girl
she's like the reception, like ER reception.
Oh, maybe. She's
and there's
wearing
another
scrubs,
brunette nurse. That's all action.
Yeah, I think she's maybe a doctor.
But right. The doctor was a woman.
There was a woman doctor, I think.
The doctor was a woman. Please, doctor, can you operate on my son? The doctor was a woman. That's the riddle.
Right.
And yeah, he like...
I don't remember what I was
He tries to
say.
take John Q down, but John Q fucks him up, and his own girlfriend fucks him up, so she turns on him.
Well, and what I was trying to say is that when he's trying to make this decision of what to do, she and that like nurse receptionist person it's her first day, they are two of the ones who are like, this is like such an amazing thing that he's wanting to do. Like, it's, yes, we don't want him to kill himself, but at the same time, like, that's the biggest sacrifice that you can possibly make.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and then other ones are like, you're insane. You know, and then the one guy, what's his name that you were just talking about? He's kind of the comic relief. He wears his own clothes.
Eddie Griffin.
He's the one that kind of like most levels with him.
I know what's happening to Mike is bad, man. Matter of fact, it's the worst. But killing yourself ain't gonna solve a damn thing. Sometimes you just gotta let go and let God. Just accept it, brother.
And it's just like, dude.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to let things go. Like, it's not worth losing your own life. What about your wife? Like, what is she gonna think about this? And he basically was like, I think she would do the same thing.
Oh, I want to say before we go further, because we're about to go ahead and wrap up the whole plot, but at the beginning of the movie, we see this lady driving crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And she gets T-boned by a semi.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's her own fault.
And then we don't see her until the drama starts to ramp up. And then people are like, she's a donor. And she's being positive. As soon as I got
back to her car, I was like, he's going to get her heart.
I forgot all about her.
Yeah, I did too.
And then it's like, oh, it's coming. So
They didn't need the part at the beginning about her.
So that chopper's coming in, life flighting, and that's a pretty cool scene where he's trying to he's on the gurney and he's going to shoot himself and he clicks.
Jesus.
And then and then he's like fuck, and he like just has a mini panic attack because
that was so intense.
That was actually really played very well.
When he was talking to his son
Denzel
before that,
he actually does a great job.
All the way through that, when he was crying, talking to that boy, all the way through until that moment, like it was so intense and amazing. We also didn't talk about the whole thing is he's basically just saying, they're like, what are your demands? He just wants Anne Heche to fucking come there and put his kid's name on the list. And she's kind of lying at first.
She does lie at first.
She does lie at first. And then you're not sure when she talks to the mom if she means it or not.
Well,
and then she starts crying when she's watching the news feed and she grows her own heart.
They're broadcasting. They're broadcasting the conversation that he had with his son.
Yeah.
And of course, it turns everyone to his side, right?
Yes, and then she puts the kid's name on the list, and then within 10 minutes, there's a heart. It's so...
That matches him
unbelievably...
It was too clean.
Crazy.
We needed some corrupt insurance people to get executed in this
I didn't want Denzel to kill himself, but that would be like such a statement.
So we play up this drama where we don't know if Denzel killed himself by the time this heart shows up. But then it's revealed Eddie Griffin pretends he's Denzel when he's getting arrested.
Well, the woman beat on the door, and I think she got in there.
And
they
then
let her in.
And then we see some of the surgery straight up, and the heart looks very rubber, but
it looked really good when they had the kid's chest open. That was creepy looking.
And and then they
snuck Denzel in as a nurse,
right? And then we cut to a courtroom. Where he's not guilty on 2 charges, but guilty on a third.
Only kidnapping.
Of course he's going to be charged something here. I would expect that. You can't let him
scot-free.
But yeah. So the kid is, but he's got the backup of his best friend. Everything is kind of tidy, at least with this one family. But the system of itself does not change. You don't get people propaganda very much. It's all propaganda. Some people just call it propaganda when it's something that another country does. No, it's all propaganda, buddy. It's just a matter of how true it is and what you believe in, right?
Yeah.
So, but I can't say, this definitely was an IV saline drip of melodrama. See what I did there?
I did. I do.
And I did think there was some great performances, especially centered around the family. I can't really prop up much else, even though it's got my boy Ray Liotta.
I know, and he was so slimy and gross, but he was the one that was like, I'm the police chief and I have to be showing my face.
But it was also just kind of a role that that's just kind of a Ray Liotta doing the Ray Liotta.
Yeah, it was almost like Ray Liotta had a cameo in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Essentially. And Anne Heche, the late Anne Heche.
She did a fine job at being a reprehensible
You did hate her pretty
person.
good.
I really did hate her from the first moment.
But I don't know. I want to see a movie of hers out there where she really stands out, because it just kind of seems like maybe similar critiques to the Meg Ryan that I gave for
I don't know
Courage
that
Under
I've
Fire.
seen Anne Heche much. I know she did that thing with Harrison Ford where their plane goes down on a beach or something. That was a big deal for her.
I remember one of the biggest deals in her history was when she dated Ellen for a bit after she came out. She dated Ellen. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
And now everyone's like, Ellen's actually kind of good. So that's what everyone says about Ellen.
Ellen
now.
dated Portia de Rossi too.
Yeah. Aren't they still together?
I think they are. I think they are.
And I think Anne Heche, she may have been a little cornered after that career-wise in terms of the things that opened up for her or didn't. I think she was bi. She wasn't just lesbian.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And because she dated men and women, but I think she maybe was overlooked from that time because that Ellen shit was so big that it kind of just maybe downplayed her a little bit, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate.
Even Robert Duvall's role was just kind of there, you know what I'm saying? I think James Woods does play a good dirtbag, though. I think he's really...
Yeah, he was good at that.
He's really good at that.
Yeah.
And he's actually, I do commend his performance in this movie because at first it seems like he has a heart. Like he's got the good bedside manner, right? And then when the things get too hard and the money's not coming in, then he reverts to your typical medical dirtbag.
Yes, because he's even telling
It's actually a really
like,
nice
we should
touch.
help them. Like, you can help them. Like, just, you know.
They were just good cop, bad cop when they're both cops, right? So.
But at the end of the day, she's his boss, and he's going to do what she says.
So that was actually, his performance was pretty good because he's good at being a slime ball.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's rate this. We're saying goodbye to Denzel with this movie for the people this week, Artists for the People.
Mm-hmm.
Portraits of the Artist this month. I've really enjoyed it. And we're going to move on to Women in Crisis by the end of the week. But for John Q, you give 1 through 5, I give 1 through 5 combined for a best out of 10. You know, truly, I'm feeling like a 2.75, but Propaganda for the People, you don't see that very often. So I'm going to bump it up to a 3.25.
That's what I was going to say, because I was going to do a 3, and then I thought extra 0.25 for, honestly, purely Denzel and the woman.
That's true.
That played his wife.
They did great. No complaints about Denzel.
Never.
Of course not.
6.5.
Although he did look funny in Man on Fire when he was trying to seem like one of the cool kids at the club when he dressed up like that. That was his most exposed moment, I feel. Remember when he went to the club and he's got the rag on?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm one of these club kids.
I told you, I didn't recognize him at first.
That's the most exposed I think we saw Denzel this month.
Yeah.
Anyway, 6.5. That's a B. All right, folks, take a look. Nick Cassavetes, John Q. John Queef, starring Denzel Washington.
Rude.
John Queef, Archibald. This movie's in the same realm as Halloween 2, Scream 6, Pillow Talk, starring Rock Hudson and Doris Day, and Roman Polanski's Oliver Twist, and Emperor Jones. The Emperor Jones. This movie's at least as good as those movies. This seems right to me.
Yeah.
So this year is going to be, we're calling it the year of Von Trier because it's going to be a depressing fucking month. So by the time we get to the end of the year, we're going to be talking about a dozen Lars von Trier movies, which accounts for most of his feature film category. Mm-hmm. And he likes trilogies, so it all like rounds out, right? But we're going to be watching a dozen, over the course of the year, a dozen Lars von Trier movies. We're calling it the year of Von Trier because it's going to be a dreary fucking election year. So, but hang in there. Don't slit your wrists. Don't do anything. Don't overdose on pills. We need you around. We need you in our lives, okay? Even though it's going to be the fucking year of Von Trier. And then after that, by Friday, new topic. Women in crisis. Movies in which women are in a lot of trouble. And that's when we get John Cassavetes showing up. Oh, Nick's dad. The much more famous Cassavetes. Though, Nick's got his hits in the can. So, check the show notes for links and other places to find us. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, correction. Don't tell me why you think the health system is fine. I don't care. There may be a different movie review YouTube podcast you might want to listen to in that case, but it's not like we gave this like 5 stars because it's right. Mostly, it's flawed. It's very flawed.
But we agree with the message.
Yeah, of course, we like it. Propaganda for the people. We need a little bit more of that. That's what this week is up until tomorrow when we talk about a Lars von Trier movie.
Right.
It's propaganda for the people. But it's been a great theme this month. Thank you for hanging out with us, Mr. Denzel. You can come hang out anytime.
We're gonna miss you.
Come by the house. We'll feed you. All right. We love you. I don't know. I'm feeling like we're floating back towards death to all traitors. Our sign-offs have not been amazing. But let's just tell people we love them one last time.
We love you.
Mike.
Flex Wheeler, 275 pounds.